Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into the Radults podcast, the podcast that highlights the stories of people who said fuck that to the idea that growing up means giving up on your dreams, and instead turn those dreams into their reality.
Today's guest is Sarah Hamilton. Sarah is the Regional Manager for Australia and New Zealand at Ditto Music, which is a music and label services company that works with over 250,000 artists and labels worldwide, with offices in 25 countries. Sarah was recently named one of the 50 most powerful people in the Australian music industry. So is definitely someone that you want on your side as a musician here in Australia. Sarah Hamilton is a Radult, and she is our guest today on Radults. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another pandemic era episode of the Radults podcast. Today, our guest is Sarah Hamilton. Sarah, how are you?
Hey, I'm not too bad. I'm glad that you've already brought up the pandemic because I think the vibes in Melbourne are a bit flat, if I'm honest. But, you know, I'm happy to be chatting to you guys. Gives me something to do tonight as well. So I'm all good.
Truthfully, how many masks do you own, and have you been sucked in the rabbit hole of buying every one that comes from some nice, kitschy, homemade household?
I'm doing a lot of mask browsing, but I've only bought but I didn't know how much condensation happens when you're wearing a mask. So I'm doing the turning it inside and outside, and I've only washed it once, and I'm like, I need some more masks because the condensation struggle is real.
No, so, I mean, obviously, you know, you're here with us during the pandemic. How essential is your role, and what do you do that makes it so essential during this time?
Oh, geez, essential. Well, I work at Ditto Music, and we get musicians' tracks and albums and EPs and videos distributed. And at the moment, you know, there's no touring, that's all stopped. And so everyone's wanting to get their music out there. So we've been slammed. We've been so busy, which is great. We're really grateful for it. But yeah, we're just getting that music onto Spotify and trying to get it playlisted and, yeah, keep people entertained at the moment. It's interesting. There's already been a bit of a shift in what people are wanting to listen to. And people really like a lot of up vibe, up tempo, happy songs at the moment, but people, of course, in isolation aren't writing that kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's what I've been doing with my team at Ditto, just getting music out there, getting it distributed, and trying to get some, you know, press and radio and playlists for our bands.
Absolutely. Look, you know what? I'm liking all of the virtual world tours that are happening at the moment from our living rooms. I am a little bit ashamed to find out that certain acts are quite expensive still to watch on YouTube. But, you know, it is what it is. And mad props to anyone that can make that work.
And are you really enjoying the live streams? I talk about this with so many people.
No, to be fair, I'm more likely to go watch their live videos on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, some people are doing the live streaming thing really well, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm just scrolling on Instagram and there's so many lives happening and I accidentally click on them. I'm like, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Just it's a bit cluttered out there with the live streams, but everyone's doing what they can.
Yeah, it's definitely a format that lends itself better to a solo artist or a duo than a band of any kind. It seems to be quite a tricky thing to get a suitable live stream happening as an actual band. That's why having services like yours, which get bands other opportunities, is probably incredibly important at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been saying this a lot as well. I just think kudos to all of the artists out there, and the music industry is usually the first place where bands just adapt and go, all right, cool, global pandemic, lockdown, and they just, you know, get out there and start live streaming or do things like I'm going to do a tour from my house and start off in the bathroom and end up in the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I just think that musicians are always so creative. I don't want to discount any of the cool stuff that's happening out there, because there is a lot. But yeah, we've all got a bit of Zoom fatigue and, you know, live stream fatigue as well.
I think as well, like marketing lends a whole lot of oomph to this time as well. Like I think Misery Signals released like a merch package and it had a face mask in it. And I thought, you know what, like mad props to that, to be able to pull that off and do that in such a quick time. So yeah, I think we need more like band face masks. I think that's the 2020 merch of the year would be face masks. We've had beanies, we've had bum bags. It's time for the face masks.
Time for the face mask, maybe some gloves, hand sanitizer potentially with like a signature scent.
Yeah. Musician pit.
The sticky carpet scent.
Smell of the mosh pit that everyone misses, and like some sweat and stuff in there. You know, that would be good. But everyone's gotten dogs over lockdown. I've also gotten a puppy recently. And we were just saying, why isn't there more merch for dogs? Like all of these dogs are wearing hoodies and stuff. I think that's something that brands should get onto as well, dog merch.
It's definitely in the works.
Drawing board. Good.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you are at Ditto. For those who don't understand exactly what an aggregator or a distribution service does, can you give us the Cliff Notes version, like the quick Spark Note, let's cheat on the exam version?
Yep, just the Cliff Notes. So basically, musicians upload their music to our website. We do all of the technical stuff, like compressing it and delivering it off to all of the stores, like Spotify and Apple Music. They all send the money back to us and we distribute the money back to the bands. So it's come a long way since I started working in this field. Like I remember actually delivering off CDs to iTunes and stuff like that. It's all a bit crazy. Receiving CDs and then changing it to deliver to iTunes. So it's changed a lot. But basically that's what we do. We are the platform that gets the music, gets it to all of the services and gets the money back to the bands. But then at Ditto, we also do extra promotional services for some bands. So we work with a lot of bands across the world. Like I think it's about 250,000. So most of them we're just doing distribution for, but then some of them we do radio plugging, publicity, and then a lot of what we do is trying to get our artist music onto playlists on Spotify. And Apple Music and all of the different platforms. So the playlists are really how artists can up their streams and get new fans and, get some attention on Spotify and the other platforms. So that's what we're trying to do as well. Getting your music out there is one thing, but then getting it to rise above the hundreds of thousands of other bands is the next challenge.
Absolutely. And I think the work that you do in terms of the playlist promotion and stuff really helps to make Ditto stand out as a business. Now, in terms of what you've mentioned there with people getting onto playlists and the playlisting thing, how do you feel about how important playlisting is to the culture and to the success, the ability to succeed in music at the moment? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a little tricky?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I feel like I change my opinion on this quite a lot because, and I also think that the music industry changes so quickly. It's never a good idea to put all of your eggs into one basket. So artists that are just really focused on Spotify playlists and not playing live, well, no one can really play live at the moment in Melbourne, but artists that are just focusing so much on playlisting or so much on Triple J, I think that's dangerous. And I always think artists should try and build up their real fans and their real fan base wherever that may be. So that might be on Spotify via playlists. It might also be social media. It might be touring. It might be live streaming, whatever it is. I think it's about really building up your fans however you can. And playlists really play into that. And it means that you can get fans in different parts of the world because, Spotify is a global platform. It's not just in Australia where people might be listening. So I think it unlocks a lot of potential new fans and unlocks a lot of great things. But it's also not the be-all and end-all. And, there's a lot of artists who are doing really well who aren't playlisted, just like there's a lot of artists doing well who aren't played on Triple J. But, if you get added to a playlist, it's awesome. It's exciting. It's one of the fun parts of my job is telling bands when they're on a playlist, So, yeah, there's a lot of positives, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And sort of touching based on, like playlists and everything like that. If you were to market a band, would you be telling them to release an LP on Spotify, or would you turn around and go, do 10 singles?
10. Yeah, probably not 10, but we definitely are moving towards more of a singles culture. But I also think Spotify is trying to bring back the album a bit as well. Like, and we were just talking about this in our meeting actually, with Taylor Swift dropping her album and no singles prior. I think if you've got a solid fan base, you can do that. But if you're still building your fan base, it's good to kind of stretch out the campaign. And then you've got a few different opportunities to pitch for playlists. So I don't know if I'd say 10, but I'd definitely, if, a lot of what I do is mapping out release strategies for bands, and I'll often be like, okay, maybe release a couple more singles in your album campaign, or why don't you drop another track in there and really kind of give yourself as many opportunities to get playlisted. But I also have a lot of artists at the moment wanting to drop a single a week, and I reckon that's too much. And you've got to give things a bit of time and space to breathe. Radio has different timelines to Spotify. So if you're releasing and trying to pitch to radio a track a week, that's not going to work. So, yeah, there's all different ways that you can do things. But I do still think fans want a body of work at certain times. And it's also about, as an artist, what you actually want to release. Like, a lot of artists might get frustrated just releasing singles and not putting together that body of work that has meaning behind it that they wrote at a particular time. So, yeah, as a band, I reckon you need to weigh up what you want to do to make yourself happy creatively, as well as what's going to be good for marketing your music. Because if you just do one or the other, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right with that. I think there's been a couple of bands that have done where they've released like purely singles. I think the Acacia Strain did, where they were calling them EPs, but each EP had 2 songs. Yeah. And then like each EP had like a letter, and then at the end of it, all the letters were like the name of the album, and they'd go like, oh, here you go, here's a 5-letter album name, and here's 10 songs. And I think Kanye at one point was talking about potentially just releasing singles, and that they were going to be no longer than like 2 minutes 22, because that's supposedly the average listener attention span on Spotify for a song.
Oh, God,
I don't know.
I thought. Yeah. That's actually longer than I thought it would be. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, whether he will do that. But yeah, there's the whole danger of catering too much to Spotify, or catering too much to, what your audience wants, is a dangerous game, because at the end of the day, you have to be really proud of what you're putting out there. And yeah, putting out a single 2 minutes 22 for the rest of your life would probably drive you crazy. Well, it's a really bad choice of words we're talking about. Mean to be disrespectful, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you, in your role, are a very influential person, which makes me wonder, how on earth did you end up in your role? What's the career trajectory here?
Sure. Oh, thank you, firstly. It's always weird to hear things like that, because, I just still feel like a massive dork who just happens to have a job that is fun. But yeah, I've always loved music. I used to want to be a musician myself and sang a bit, but just never really liked performing, and I just didn't really vibe with it. And I knew I wanted to work in music and really kind of elevate people that were really talented. That's just what I've always wanted to do. So I went to uni and did music there, and when you want to be involved in something such as music, but you just don't really know what exactly. But then after uni, I saw a job advertised, and it was like a traineeship at a small music company for half of the time, and then the other half was like data entry at an IT company. And I'm just being like, what is this job split into 2? And then I went for the interview, and it was actually one of the first digital distribution companies in Australia. This is up in Queensland, where I'm from. I didn't even know what digital distribution was. Like, iTunes was barely a thing. Spotify wasn't even in Australia yet. But I got really interested in it. So I went for the job and I got it. And, it was having to split my time between answering the phone for an IT company and then working at this music company. So it was kind of bizarre. But yeah, that was about 10 years ago now. And I just really liked the digital distribution side of things because it's all different genres of music and I like lots of different kinds of stuff. So it was good to just work with musicians who, all different levels. So I guess it's the same at Ditto. We have some artists who are massively well-known globally, huge acts like Chance the Rapper. But then we have artists who are just getting started, who are still really green and really excited about everything that they're doing. And I really love working with artists of all different levels. So that's probably why I love the digital distribution side of things. But yeah, I've been doing it for about 10 years now and I've worked for a couple of different companies. I worked for one that sent me to New York, which was really fun. So I got to live in New York for a little while and be amongst it there. And yeah, I started at Ditto about 7 years ago and I started in more of a support role. So answering the phone, answering emails, and Ditto's grown and grown. So I've got a team here now. And now I get to listen to music. Like we just had our team meeting where we listen to music and decide if we can pitch it to playlists or not. So, it's kind of the dream, getting to listen to music and talk to bands and managers and map things out. So I do that most of the time. And then I also have a side project called One of One where we highlight women and non-binary people in the music industry and interview them and host events and that sort of thing. So that's something else I'm really passionate about. And I guess one of the things I love to do at Ditto that's really important is to make sure, we're really supporting artists that might not usually have a voice or might not usually have a platform. So, it's a good space to be able to do that as well. So, yeah, I've been in the industry for a while and I had a time out. I had that, typical situation where I was working for a company and they were a bit dodgy and they didn't pay me properly and they weren't paying bands. So I was like, screw this, I'm going to leave the music industry for a bit. But I got bored after about 9 months. I was just like, I really miss talking to bands and talking about music. So I came back and I'm very happy that I did.
I think a lot of bands are happy that you did too.
Yeah.
So that's always good. You were recently named one of the 50 most powerful people in Australian music. How does that make you feel?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty stoked actually because, I don't know, I still feel surprised and stoked. And I think it shows that the music industry is changing and it's no longer just people at labels that hold all of the power. Like, I think it's cool to show that it's all changing. But yeah, pretty stoked to be honest. I also, part of the reason that my friends and I started One of One was that list used to be pretty much 80% or 90% men. And we noticed that, and that's part of the reason we wanted to highlight women and non-binary people in the industry doing cool things. And it was after one of those 50 most powerful people lists was launched about 5 years ago that we were like, there aren't enough women here and there's so many awesome women doing cool things. Let's highlight them. So then it moved to the people that create the list were kind of asking me to see if there were any other women that should be included, which was really great. And then to actually make it onto the list, I was like, this is a cool, full circle. So, yeah, pretty stoked. It's always weird when stuff like that happens. I feel a little bit awkward about it. I'm used to being behind the scenes type thing. But honestly, I was stoked to be on that list.
Do you get a certificate? I want to know that. Do you get a certificate?
No. Did I make
We'll make you one with one of those gold macaroni plates as well.
I would love that. And being on the Radults podcast is actually a pretty big honor as well. So can you include the word Radult on there as well?
Yeah, you're certified Radult. That's 2 listings above platinum.
Yeah, I think that should be the top line. Do you know what's so funny? I was talking to a friend the other day before you asked me to be on this podcast, and I'd said something to the effect of do you think we'll ever grow up? Because I was just talking about how there are some adults that just seem so much older than me or than us, because it's just I don't know, some people just never really grow up. And then you asked me to be on the Radults podcast and I was like, I'm claiming this now. I never want to grow up, just be a Radult.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Growing up is overrated. I never plan on doing it. I'm glad that you're not planning on doing it, because if you did, you wouldn't be any good at your job.
Yeah. I mean, that is another thing I've been thinking about recently, just getting older and you know, when you notice cycles in music or fashion come around again and you're like, oh, yep, I was there the first time for that one. Like there's that happening where I'm like, getting a bit older, but whatever. You know, I'll try and stay hip and cool with the kids, you know.
No, but the good thing about that is that you're well equipped to deal with the current circumstance because you've already lived through it. So you can be the cool older auntie kind of figure in people's lives. Yeah. You can have all the original records. You can have the original fashion. You can cash in on the vintage market if you want to sell your stuff.
Yep. I like that. Just like show it to them again, bring it out again, but, you know, understand the new lens as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Now, does earning the recognition of being one of the 50 most powerful people in Australian music, does that feel like a validation for the time you put in?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't really think about it that much. And I'm someone that's always just thinking about how I can do things better and what else can I do and stuff. So, yeah, I haven't really thought about it in that way. But, yeah, I think most people who work in the music industry definitely put in a lot of time and passion. And, you know, it's funny when someone has that kind of outdated viewpoint of like people in the music industry are all, you know, ripping off their artists or they're all shit or whatever, because it's just like, no, it's generally just a lot of really passionate, hardworking people just like pouring themselves into their work. So, yeah, they definitely have spent a lot of time, but I didn't really think about it too much in terms of the Power 50 thing. But, yeah, it's always nice to get recognition for sure.
It's definitely well-deserved. You know, definitely well-deserved with that sort of thing. So, obviously, a large part of what you do is providing avenues for artists to succeed. Do you get a thrill whenever an act you've worked with takes off?
Oh, totally. That's honestly the best part. And still, like, when I hear one of our artists on the radio, that's a massive thrill. When I see how excited they are, and that comes at all different levels. Like, it could be, you know, they're really excited because they're in the charts or something, or it could be they're really excited because they got their first ever Spotify playlist, or some people are just so excited to even see themselves on Spotify. Like, I think it's a really big achievement to have gotten your shit together enough to record a song, get the cover art together, get it mixed and mastered, release it, have a release plan. Like, that's an achievement in itself. So, yeah, I think that's why I love working with emerging artists as well, because there's just so much excitement in every piece of what's happening. Because sometimes people will get to a point where their expectations are pretty high and they think that, you know, because they are who they are, things will roll out in a certain way, which totally doesn't happen anymore. Like, I really think that it's largely about the music itself, which is really good. But, yeah, no, I absolutely get a thrill. And I just said this the other day to our awesome radio plugger, Frank. I was like, do you still get a thrill when you hear a band on the radio? And he's like, yep, absolutely, 30 years later, you know? So
that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and look, I can say that everything you've said there is perfectly valid from a musician's point of view. What you were saying about how it's a big achievement to get your stuff together to the point where you can get it on to Spotify. That should be an achievement, and every listen that you get should feel like an achievement. Every Spotify playlist should feel like an achievement. Getting played on the radio for the first time should feel like an achievement, because it is. You've done something that very few other people can do. And the fact that you managed to make it happen should be something that people congratulate.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, absolutely believe in celebrating the wins and, you know, every step along the way. Yeah, because it's also just like making a good song. That's an achievement. Writing a good song, that's an achievement. There's a lot of not great music out there. So if you've written something, be proud.
I think you're 100% on the ball with that. I think if you can't stop to enjoy like the achievements, whether they be big, small, or anything like that, it's sort of like almost like makes the whole, I guess, career redundant. You know, you have to be able to enjoy the work that you put in. Otherwise, like, just get an office job. Not to say that there's nothing wrong with an office job, but you know, if you know you're putting in that effort, you should be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, and just being happy with what you put out there. Like, if you've written a song that's really weird and, you know, can't really be marketed, but you love it, release it and put it out there. And, you know, even though there's someone like me listening to it and going, oh, it might not go on any playlists and blah, 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 who cares? Put it out there. Make what you love and put it out there. You know, there's a lot to be said for the marketing side of things too. And at Ditto, we always try and be honest. I mean, we're only people with opinions, and, you know, there's been tracks that I've missed or things that I don't understand why they're so popular, but they are, and blah, blah, blah. But just, yeah, we'll always try and be honest about what we think will happen. But there's no rules in the music industry, and there's always surprises. And that's part of the reason it's so fun, because, you know, someone might do something totally differently, or, you know, be really creative with the way that they release, or it might be a genre that I just don't get, but other people might love it. So, yeah, I think bands should just do what they want, really.
It's kind of like one of those things where it's like Principal Skinner, where it's where he's like, am I wrong? Am I out of touch? It's like, no, it's the kids that are wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I'm just reliving that episode of The Simpsons. We will carry on.
I haven't thought about Principal Skinner in so long. I'm so glad you just thought that.
I've just got a meme that I want to create that's Principal Skindred.
Oh, God, get out.
All right. So you've obviously been working in the industry quite a long time, and there's been a lot of change that's taken place in the time you've been working. Do you feel like it's a better place to be for artists now than what it was when you started in the industry, or just different?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a lot more available and a lot more that you can do as an artist, but it's also a bit overwhelming, you know, to try and manage all of your social media accounts and figure out digital marketing and figure out playlisting. Like, there's just a lot. But yeah, like I was saying before, I really do think that these days there's less gatekeepers, and artists that make good music, it will rise. Whereas I think it used to be, like, there's still gatekeepers to a point, but it used to be less people making the decisions. Whereas now it's like, if the public gets behind you, or if you take off on TikTok, the industry then takes notice, and artists, you know, like Tash Sultana as an example, or Chillin' It, like a rapper that we've worked with, they just do what they want to do and build up their own fan base, and then the industry comes later. It's not like you have to wait for someone to give you the tick or tell you that something's good. And I think that's really cool and really powerful. So yeah, I think it's easier in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously coronavirus has not been an easy or a fun time for bands. And that's been a real challenge, but yeah, social media and stuff, if you enjoy it, it can be a really good way to build up your fan base, and it's free as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely a lot better in some ways, but it's just a little overwhelming, and you have to kind of not let the marketing take over the creative process. I do see some bands just, you know, going to every webinar and learning everything that they can and just networking all the time, and then not putting as much effort into actually making their music. And, you know, I'd always just say that, you know, that's the most important part, is that the music is good and that it's what you want it to be, and then the marketing can come later.
You know what? Like, I think that's 100% on the ball. I think there is a lot of focus that can be on things that maybe, like you said, should come later. Like, you know, it's not to say that it's not a critical thing to be able to do, but obviously it's like saying you've got to learn how to walk before you can run and stuff like that. And I think that it's very much like that. And so, yeah, I think that you're 100% on the ball with that one.
Yeah. And I mean, networking's always good. Like, I mean, we met at an APRA event a few years ago and have stayed in touch, and you know, that's a great thing. And we always have kind of artists that are favorites of ours, or people that we would always want to help and stuff like that. So I think networking's important, but, you know, just having a genuine connection with someone. I used to feel really awkward about networking when I first started in the industry, because, you know, I had been a musician and then I'd moved to this industry side, and I was like, oh, is everyone going to think I'm like a really gross, creepy industry person? And, you know, do I have to go and give business cards out to everyone? I used to hate giving business cards out because I just felt like such a douche. I still do, actually. I think just realizing that it's actually more just about talking to people and just having a real conversation and not having to sell anything. Like, I think musicians as well really feel like they have to sell their music and have an elevator pitch and give you, like, you know, a card and a CD and all this sort of thing. And it's like, if you just actually have a genuine connection with someone and then you send them an email, that's much better than, like, pitching to someone for 10 minutes, if you know what I mean.
I'm very soft listening. No, I'm sorry. No,
That's interesting. And you did mention that we met at an APA event, and I believe I might have pitched you and given you a stubby holder, but I think the stubby holder probably got me across the line there.
Yeah, but I remember we had a chat, and I just thought you were cool. And so then when you sent an email, I was like, I remember that guy. It's cool. And I do remember the stubby holder as well, and it's rad. So, but it wasn't like an elevator pitch, just speaking at me type thing. Good.
Yeah.
I remember that it wasn't the first time, but Timothy Carroll from Holy Holy used to have a solo project, which I absolutely loved. And this is when I was in my early 20s and, like, peak dork levels and just starting in the music industry. And I remember going up to him at a show, and I had a business card, and I was like, you've got to give it to him, Sarah. He's really special. And I was like, hey, I work in the music industry. I really want to work with you. Here's my business card. And then he was like, oh, this is actually a Blockbuster video card. And I had to be like, oh, shit, wrong one.
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
Yeah. It happens to people in the music industry as well, where you want to make a good impression on someone and you fail miserably. So, you know, it happens both ways.
You can't tell me that wouldn't be, you know, memorable for him, though. Oh, you're the one that had the Blockbuster membership card.
That's showing how old it is, actually. Blockbuster. No one goes to Blockbuster anymore. But yeah, I wonder if he does remember. I should ask him. I probably.
You should definitely ask him.
Yeah. Oh.
Now, does it ever get annoying having people like me approach you in that way, though? In the sense that your whole life, people are basically asking for you to help them. Is there ever times where you're like, geez, work it out for yourself, kid?
No, I think if someone's respectful, I never get sick of it. And, you know, I totally get where they're coming from. But, like, if someone's really, you know, disrespectful of the time of day, or, you know, sending messages late at night, you know, I get a lot of people that contact me on the weekend or late at night and will be like, sorry for contacting you, but I have this question. And, you know, if it's urgent, I don't care. But if it's after hours, you know, don't call someone unless it's urgent. Or we work with this band who I love, but they're kind of like surfer guys. And on a Saturday, they're like, hey, Sarah, we're ready to talk about the contract. And it's like, I'm not in that mind frame right now because it's Saturday, you know. So I would say I don't ever get sick of it. I love helping bands. That's why I do what I do. But there's definitely a level of respect that I think anyone should show, like not just artists, but just anyone. And I think also persistence, like if we say no to playlisting and someone's like wants a bit of feedback or wants to have a conversation, that's fine. But if someone gets really upset or rude about it, which happens really rarely, but I don't really like that because it's just like it's a hard part of the job, having to say no to people. And I always try and do it respectfully. So, yeah, I guess that's all I ask for in return. But no, I'll never get sick of, you know, an artist asking for advice. And most of them are so good and so friendly and respectful. And I feel like that's something that's really changed over the last 10 years is artists really being educated, knowing what they're doing, being respectful, just, you know, trying to really kickstart their career. And yeah, I'm someone that will always respect people that do their own thing. So whether you're a musician making your own music or you've started your own business or whatever it is, I will always try and help those people because it's easy to sit back and criticize others, but to actually start your own thing takes a lot of guts. So yeah, I'll always respect that and try and help where I can.
Definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Now that feels like a perfect transition point to venture into our first Rad Break with you, which is a little break we take where we ask you a question. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're really hard, about something, and you give us an answer. So in this instance, your Rad Break is called Sarah Hamilton Island.
Okay.
And it is, if you could invite 5 Aussie artists you've worked with to play a music festival on your own private island, who would you invite?
Oh my God. I'm gonna need some break time to think about this, or some things.
That's okay.
Okay, so one of my all-time favorite Ditto artists is Kait. So amazing R&B, soul songstress. I'm going to try and choose artists from different genres that would also be really fun to hang out with. So I'm going to go Kait. Then I'm going to add in Eskimo Joe. So we've been working with them recently, and they're just super funny dudes. They've been doing these Facebook Lives, and they're just a real fun time. So I would add them in as well. I think the rapper Chillin' It, who I mentioned before, would be just like doing crazy stuff and just like keeping everyone entertained. Like, his manager has just worried about losing him, or just like when he he's just an absolutely crazy kind of an artist. So I reckon he would be good for fun. Who else can I get in there? So I've got Kait, Eskimo Joe, Chillin' It. Got to think of some different genres here now. We work with some meditation and like hypnotists and stuff like that. I reckon getting one of them in there to like chill everyone out. They can chilling it out when he gets a little bit too crazy. He might need that. And then there's a band called Catholic Guilt. That'd be fun, like that. Stubby hoppers for everyone. And
cheap pop.
Yeah. Just add some fun, punk vibes. So yeah, I've got Kait, soul, Eskimo Joe, Aussie rock, Chillin' It, like hip hop, meditation vibes, and then Catholic Guilt. Yeah, that's my five. What a crew.
That's amazing.
Definitely a crew.
We're definitely saying yes, because at this stage, anything to actually be allowed in the same room or the same suburb as each other is something we'd say yes to immediately. And then the prospect of being at a music festival with a hypnotist or whatever, that's just incredible.
Yeah, being on an island, like being at the beach right now, would be really, really great. But we often talk about how at Ditto we really should start a web series or some kind of a show for Netflix or something like that, because the funny stuff that happens every day, because we're working with artists of all different genres and just like really interesting people, you just can't make it up. Some of the stuff that we see, some of the cover art, some of the things people say, like it would just be hilarious. I feel like we should make some kind of a sitcom. But yeah, I feel like our island festival, would be pretty rad as well.
Do you need a roadie? Like, can I come along? Like, I can play the cowbell.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we need that. We need that totally. So
yeah,
we'll bring some coconuts. It'll be great.
Yeah, that sounds good. So you've started a charity called One of One with Joanna Cameron. What can you tell people about that?
Oh, done your research. Thanks. So yeah, I run that with Joanna Cameron and Ellen Kirk. So Ellen works at Lookout Kid and she manages Briggs and, works with other artists like Courtney Barnett and Sarah Blasco. And Joanna was previously at AIR, Australian Independent Records, and she now lives in New York. She just went back there, lucky thing, and she books a venue over there. And yeah, we're all just passionate about highlighting people that might not usually put themselves in the spotlight and telling people's stories. And it's really become this great community of people that want to support women and non-binary people in the industry. People can nominate people that we can interview, and it's also spread to these events that we have for International Women's Day. So it's gotten quite big, and this year we had our Melbourne event at the Forum, which was, kind of like a dream come true. Miff Warhurst was the MC. We had an event in Sydney and also in Adelaide at the same time. So, it's really become a bit of a movement, and a lot of the industry has supported by donating money for scholarships. So, Helen from Bakehouse, who's a bit of a hero of mine, she's set up the First Nations scholarship. So every year there's a huge package put together for a First Nations female or non-binary musician. We've now got the Mushroom Producer Award because only 2% of producers are women or non-binary people. That's a crazy statistic. So we really want to help shine a light on that and get some more female producers out there. That's why I always want to support artists like Alice Ivy and female producers that are out there doing it. One of One just started as an idea. We honestly didn't think anyone would even look at our website. It was one of those things where let's start a website, let's interview women in the music industry. And then it's just become this thing that, we're really proud of, and it has a lot of momentum and support behind it. We have, women up in Sydney and Adelaide, and we have an advisory board here in Melbourne. It's just become a much bigger thing than we thought. So, yeah, we really love it. We're really proud of it. We're not sure how it's going to go next year, obviously with COVID. There's a lot going on. But, yeah, we love interviewing people and finding out their stories. So if anyone listening has a cool woman that they've worked with, whether it's a roadie or a producer or an artist or a label manager, whoever it is in the industry, send through their details and we'll interview them. So we've done about 300 interviews. And a lot of cool things have been sparked from it. Like I said, there's scholarships and awards that have been created, but also people have said to me, "Oh, Sarah, I hired this person as our tour manager because I saw her on One of One." So I think it's just about showing that there are a lot of great people out there and telling their stories. So that's what it's all about.
Right on.
That's incredible. I have a look at the site from time to time, and I'm pretty inspired by the content. We had Janine Morkos on here, who obviously was one of the people featured on One of One a while back.
Yeah.
And we definitely be keen to get more people you've spoken to on, because they're all about what we're on. We also had Michelle Grace Hunter
love her.
on as well.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And if those are the types of people that you're working with, then I highly, highly, highly recommend people check out everything on One of One, essentially, because it's a really, really cool thing you're doing. Is there anyone that you've been working with recently through One of One, or that you want to work with, that you would like people to be paying attention to now in particular?
Good question. I mean, at the moment, with Black Lives Matter and a lot of the conversation around that, we're really trying to think of how we can highlight more people that need a voice at the moment, and also being led by people of colour or First Nations people rather than us kind of leading those conversations. So I guess we're kind of navigating that at the moment. But yeah, if there's anyone out there who is a Black Indigenous person of colour that we should be interviewing, we would love to. I think we will be hosting a panel in partnership with AIR, and I'd really love to there were two women that started the Blackout Tuesday movement, which turned into something else, and a lot of people posting black squares. I did so myself as well, in solidarity, before realising that it was clogging up social media. But I would love to have the people that started the Blackout Tuesday movement on the webinar. But yeah, I guess I'm just interested in hearing people's perspectives that we don't usually hear from. I really love this podcast. I guess she's an influencer. Her name's Flex Mummy, and we'll absolutely have to interview her. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts with her lately, and she's talking about the idea of everyone diversifying their social media. And that's what I've been trying to do lately as well. It's just once you start following more people that have different viewpoints to you, or that are really educated in a particular space, then you just kind of learn so much, and it just opens you up to so many different things, because social media can be such an echo chamber. And if you're just following people with all of the same kind of background to you, all of the same thoughts as you, you're not being opened up to anything else. So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment, is diversify my social media feed. But yeah, One of One, we're always just looking for different perspectives and people doing different things. So yeah, we're going to focus on more people of colour.
It's definitely an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know how much of it is blatant ignorance or just, varying perspectives, but it is it is interesting that, you know, this situation happens. You know, Black Lives Matters comes into play, you know, obviously with some, you know, big stories, you know, George Floyd and the likes of those, where I think it's sort of giving space that people want to listen now. You know, that they've realized that, you know, what has been happening for, you know, decades upon decades and even centuries, you know, it's not, you know, it's not okay. You know, it wasn't okay then and it's not okay now. And I think that people are now taking more time to listen. And I think that it also then, you know, opens up a way for them to see things from a different perspective. You know, it might not be that, you know, you're deliberately naive, but you could be like, hey, like, I've never thought of it that way, you know, like, and you get to take that and you get that viewpoint. So obviously, you know, diversifying your social media is a good thing, you know, based on that as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's so true. And I think that a lot of people who haven't experienced, you know, prejudice before just don't really understand how bad it can be. And, you know, I can only understand to a point as well, but it's like every woman I know has had some form of sexual harassment or sexual abuse, just as every person of color I know has had some form of abuse as well. And I think some people don't realize how far spread it is and all of the different ways that it can happen. And even though it's been pretty overwhelming on social media, just seeing, you know, things talked about constantly, I think it was so necessary, because I think a lot of people understand now how awful it is for so many people. So, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year, hasn't it? It's been a really full-on year of everything being brought to the surface, but I think it needed to happen as well.
It did. And I think, to be fair, I think that we're in a generation that wants to listen. And I think that probably it's the best generation for it to have happened in. Like, should it have taken this long to get to this point? Obviously not. But, you know, like, people have realized that, like, they just can't go about it like that. You know, they need to hear these stories.
Yeah, you're so right. And I mean, I just have so much faith in, you know, boomers are always talking about millennials and the laziness or like all that sort of stuff. I have so much faith in, you know, younger people, and think about, like, you know, all of these kids on TikTok managed to stuff up Trump's rally, and it's just like,
that's incredible.
I know, they're like 15 years old and they're rallying together and actually affecting American politics, and it's just like, that's because they care about politics at 15, and that's amazing, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an example of the internet being used for the purpose it was actually created, which is the sharing of knowledge and information. And these kids are so attuned to being manipulated by companies that they now know how to read between the lines and then utilize the services that are being provided by these monoliths against them.
So true. So true. And, you know, it's interesting, like I was saying before, kind of getting older and actually sometimes feeling out of touch or feeling like I'm not as politically correct as I should be. I actually really like that feeling, because I'm just like, everything's evolving and changing, and I like being called out sometimes or learning something new. Like, you know, I try to be on top of that stuff, but no one can be. So I think everyone needs to just let go of trying to be perfect all the time and just be open to learning, and then that's how things will constantly evolve. But yeah, there's a lot of really, you know, tapped in, interesting young people out there. And I feel like the future's in safer hands than it was 50 years ago, you know.
We can only hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, so look, to be fair, you know, we're not taking away from, obviously, the real situations that we're going on here, but I feel like maybe we're getting a little bit too dark when...
Going deep.
You know, we're going deep, and we try to be positive. We try to be that shining beacon that if you're having a bad day, you listen to one of our episodes and hear one of Brenton's many puns that I cringe at, but he loves. So it brings us to our second Rad Break. So imagine this. You're an artist, you know, you're an aspiring artist. You've gone to a meeting like the ones that you attend, and you've approached your very self doing your role. What would your tactics be in having that chat? But more to the point, you're handing over your album. What does your album cover look like?
Oh God, so specific.
Yeah.
All right. Tactics. So tactics to get me on board or to get Pro on board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we get yourself on board?
All right. So one of the things I really respect with artists and managers is something that I'm not great at myself, but people that are highly organized, like someone who sends me an email that is just like, or in a meeting is just like, I've prepared all of this for you and here's my video and here's this and this and here's the rollout plan. Like that impresses me so much when I'm just like, they've really spent a lot of time putting together a plan, but I'm not the most organized person in the world. So maybe that's why it impresses me so much, because I'm just like, wow, they've really got their shit together. So being super duper organized and just, again, just showing what they're doing, showing the plan, but also being flexible. If someone's too staunch with everything that they're doing and they don't have any room to move, that's a little bit of a worry. But yeah, having a really cool plan and maybe something a little bit different and a little bit quirky, like they want to, okay, I don't want to give away someone's awesome idea, but someone had a great idea the other day of just like, along with their EP, they're going to do this cool TV show on YouTube. And I was like, that's an amazing, like just something a little bit out of the box will always pique my interest and I'll be like, cool. Or if they're like, this is a TikTok challenge that we're going to do and it's actually really cool and good, you know. So something a little bit different, a really cool plan. And then when it comes to cover art, oh my God, I've seen so much terrible cover art that like I don't even know what's good anymore. Don't even know what I like. like and you know how sometimes you'll look at something and you're like, I think I hate it, but I actually really like it. That's probably something I'd like to see. Something that like on first glance, I'm like, I don't understand it. I like to be intrigued. Something's a little bit strange or a little bit off, but then I'm really intrigued to learn more about that artist. That's a really good thing. So I haven't answered the cover art very well.
Is it Comic Sans? Would you ever sign an artist that has used Comic Sans?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I mean. Like something that just on first glance is a bit ugly or a little bit off, but then you think about it and you're like, I can't stop thinking about that comic.
That's great. Just that's the number one tip for any aspiring artists listening to this. If you want to work with Sarah, one of the 50 most powerful people in the Australian music industry, all you have to do is bring a CD to a meet and greet that has a Comic Sans font on the cover.
Yeah, and it's a weird idea as well. Just something weird and quirky, and I'll just be like, I'm into it.
Like a lyrics booklet where like the whole lyrics are written in wingdings.
Oh
yeah. Dude, it's a tape.
Yeah.
It's a tape, but like it's bubblegum. It's like that bubblegum tape.
Yes. I would be so into that.
Temporary tattoos with every CD.
Yeah, kind of a gimmick, you know, I'm there. I have actually, someone did send in some like lollies once. That was good. You know, I'm trying to think of the strange things that people have done. Oh, so I do actually feel a little bit awkward when people rap or sing in a meeting, but I also love it as well. I've had a few rappers like rap in a meeting and it's just such an awkward vibe because you're like sitting around a table and, you know, I don't really know what to do. Or when someone plays their entire song from start to finish in front of me and they're watching my facial expressions and stuff, that gets a little bit awkward as well. But I kind of love it too. I love awkward moments in life. They're great.
Well, before we let you go from this awkward moment in your life, I want to know one thing, and that's about TikTok. Before we ask you the final question, what's been your favorite TikTok dance or TikTok challenge?
Oh my God, I think they're so terrible. And, you know, I just don't think I've seen any good TikTok dance challenges that I love. Like, there's just so many people. Oh, there's just so many cringe moments, honestly. I think TikTok is so cool and great and there's so many creative things happening out there. But if I have to see another, you know, awkward dad and teenage daughter dance move, like I just can't do it.
Like LeBron James.
Oh, God, I will have to look at that. Yeah, no.
It is.
Come on, he's stuck in a bubble, man. What's he meant to do?
I don't know. Like spend his billions. Like I don't know.
He's at Disney and he's not allowed to go on any of the rides. Come on.
Are you guys into TikTok? Are you?
No. Not me.
I'm trying to be for obvious reasons because it's a good platform. I enjoy it from the comedic point of view, but I've got no idea what I'm doing in terms of the musical side of things. So I'm going to have to hire a 15-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's come to. There's just like we need help from people much younger than us. But I'm just seeing this trend at the moment of bands really just trying, just hearing that TikTok is what they need to be doing. And so they're just trying so desperately to go viral on TikTok. And it's just like, no, just, I don't know. There's just a lot of people really trying to make things go viral and it doesn't really work that way.
So what you need to do for these bands is just get them to like cover songs from the game Fortnite or Overwatch and then you're done. Like that's it.
Yeah. Or the other thing is just everyone needs to be on Twitch, obviously. Twitch is the new thing as well. Yeah. But I mean, I should get more on top of Twitch and how it all works because I just think, oh my God, people are just watching someone, play games for 14 hours. But it's a big thing. It's happening.
Look, I am guilty of that. Like, I am a bit of a Twitch streamer myself. I play a ridiculous amount of video games. But the reason why I do it is it keeps me accountable to play these games and to finish them.
I like it. Accountability, I'm all for it.
Yeah. But I'm a millennial. I turned 30 this year. I hope that maybe I just don't make it there. But
that's dark.
I have a lot of boomer qualities. I would much prefer to read a newspaper than read a tablet.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
I miss going on the train and seeing someone read a book.
Yeah. Yeah. No rules for you. Got it.
So and I like physical things. I would rather buy a record than have to listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah, I still like records. I mean, I've got a growing record collection and, I'm all for that as well. But, playlists obviously are a big part of it as well.
Of course you have a growing record collection. That's what us older millennials do.
Yeah.
We buy vinyl when we run out of things to spend money on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of my friends actually has a record shop and I tried to start like a monthly record club. We did one Instagram live with about 5 people watching and then we went back into lockdown. So that's on hiatus at the moment, but I'm still about albums and records as well. Totally.
Awesome. Good to know. Now, before you go, we do have to ask you to do something that we get all of our guests to do. Mm-hmm. And that is something that's very in line with the purpose of this podcast, which is to show people that it is possible to have fulfilling careers in the creative industries. So we asked our guests to give their tips for being a Radult. What would your advice be to someone looking to do what you do?
Oh, so I think don't listen to anyone that tells you can't have a career in the creative industries, firstly. Just block out all of that noise. Like, it makes me think of a very long time ago when I had people be like, oh, an arts degree, oh, music, ooh, but I just didn't care and just block out all of that white noise. So I think just go on your path, block out all of the haters, and yeah, that's my biggest tip.
That is 100% a mix between Taylor Swift and like Yoda.
Maybe that's my vibe. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, I could see that. So Brenton had it wrong just before. So before we let you go, we can't just take the tips for being a Radult. We need you to plug your stuff, where they can find you, what they should look at, and everything that you feel is crucial in plugging your work.
Sure, thank you. So Ditto Music is dittomusic.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. We have Ditto Music Australia is our Australian Instagram. Check that out. We're growing that at the moment. And One of One, just go to oneofone.com.au. Contact me at Sarah, SARAH, at dittomusic.com or Sarah at oneofone.com.au. And I really did mean it before when I said I love hearing from artists and helping them out. So if anyone has any questions about Spotify or anything, I honestly would love to hear from them.
Just not about TikTok or Twitch.
No, I'll still listen and talk about TikTok, but you know, if it's someone wanting to go viral on TikTok, I probably can't help you.
What if they want you to listen to the song TikTok by Kesha?
That's a shame. All right, well then I'm out on installing. Oh God.
Come on, but TikTok on the clock for the records on. Okay. Well, considering Mike apparently is having mic issues, it is absolutely my pleasure and my honor to be able to bestow on you the title of Certified Radult. Sarah Hamilton, you are a certified Radult.
Oh, so are both of you. I am so stoked to be on this podcast. You guys are legends. Thank you.
And that brings to an end another episode of the Radults podcast. We hope you've enjoyed your time with us today and that you've left the episode feeling even more inspired to turn your own creative dreams into reality. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, and share our content. And go out there and live life a little more Radult. Have a rad day.